recording to X here.
What is ADD to you, which is attention deficit disorder?
Attention deficit disorder? That's broad. Attention deficit disorder, yes. I'll say there's a very big gray area in that aspect because it seems like every doctor and every person can treat somebody. If somebody doesn't have the same mindset and that doesn't have a clear mind and is all over the place, they're classified as ADD or ADHD. ADD, attention deficit disorder. It's a tough one because I've dealt with children. Not as my cousin has ADHD, where he's all over the place, can't stop. To me, that's what ADD is. You can't stop. You're all over the place, and it's like you're a squirrel. Your mind's all over the place. It's like one big rolling factory in your head that won't stop. And the unfortunate thing is that our society has have created medications or have medicated us to a point where you can take Ritalin, you can take Prozac, you can take anything to relax your brain, which is a sad fact. Fortunately, that seems to be the world that we live in. And ADHD, or ADD, ADHD, I keep calling it ADHD, I don't know, I'm so used to hearing that. But to me that's something that it's a very gray area in my view, because it's hard to classify somebody who can't stop working. I could have ADHD just by talking faster than normal. That's what somebody may characterize ADD with, by just doing things half-assed, not paying attention, doing 5 things at once. It's not right. The society has put a really big black hole on that one. So ADD to me is pretty much just, it's something that's been reinforced, and it isn't a disease. It's just a state of mind where, yes, people do have brains that are more active than others. But to me, if you're treating it with medications, because there's no other way of treating it, and unless they don't want to try, by slowing your brain down, by calming yourself. I do have an overactive mind myself. I'm cool as a cucumber when most of the time. Me is when I know I'm gonna get that way, I just calm myself down. I just relax. I'll take a nap, or I'll just drink tea or not coffee, just tea or something light to calm myself down. Because I'm one to start something and then move on to another one before finishing. And a lot of characteristics in ADD is that. I'm not ADD, but that's always been me. I'll start one but not finish it, but I'll finish it somehow. It's not like start step 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll go step 1, 2, and then go to 1, 2, 3, and then come back to 4. It's just the way I am. But a lot of people will say that, oh, you're ADD because of that. No, I'm not. It's just it's a personality. It's a characteristic I have.
Okay. What is p.t.s.d to you, which is post-traumatic stress disorder?
I'll say post-traumatic stress disorder, I relate that to the military. People who have been in the military, or people who have gone through a traumatic event, such as, let's say, a car crash or a near fatal incident. I've never suffered it myself. I know a lot of people who have. And to me, that is something that is hard to come to relieve, to treat, because post-traumatic stress is something, to me, I've seen it. I've kind of lived through small bouts of it. Being in a car crash, being in the hospital. I'm one to be in the hospital, it seems, more than I want to. But it's just something that, if there's a traumatic event in your life, like let's say a car crash, or you've been shot, or you've seen things that you don't want to see, and for example, it's the Army or the Navy, I relate a lot to that. That just post-traumatic stress disorder, right away when I hear that, I think of the military, because these are soldiers. These are normal human beings seeing torture, seeing their best friend being shot in the head right in front of them, or something like that. It's something that it's a memory that will never go away, and it affects the way you live. And unfortunately, the sad fact is a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder victims either can't live with it and they kill themselves, or they live with it but they don't live the same life they lived before this whatever incident happened. I've had car accidents. I've had bouts in the hospital. I've never had, it's not massive post-traumatic stress. It's just after you get out, you have a change in lifestyle because of it. For example, as I was in the hospital oh my goodness, it'll be 5 years. 5 years ago, with an ulcer. That changed the way I lived, changed my diet. I was very worried about what I ate, although I still eat junk food. What do you expect? But just, it scares you. It's an event in your life that scares you so much that you will change, or either make the change for the good or for the bad. And most of the time, unless somebody is treated with, of course, our medicated society is treated with a pill, that PTSD will never go away. Me, I didn't take a pill. I did what everybody told me to do, and I listened, and I took steps to change the way, change eating habits, change the way I live. When you're 300 and some odd pounds and you're in the hospital bed throwing up blood, kind of changes your life, and that's a stress that'll never go away. It's not something I'll ever forget because I don't want to relive it. And that, to me, people who go through something like that will always relive that because they don't want to relive it again. And so it puts them in the mindset, well, I had a car accident, I'm not going to do this again. And that's where a lot of fear builds up. Well, I was in a plane crash, I survived, I'm never going to fly, I'm never going to go on a plane again. It's 1 in a million chances of things like that happening. But that's something that people live with, and unfortunately, the unfortunate thing is our society seems to think that the best way of treating things like that is through medication, where I believe that if you have somebody to talk to, or if you have somebody who has support, or if you have support, you can overcome things, or you can manage your stress levels to a point where you can live a normal life without waking up in the middle of the night, or waking up in the middle of the night with screams of terror of what just happened. Unfortunately, you see a lot of that, or you see things, you see people who live lives like that. Like, unfortunately, if there was a better if there were better solutions than medication, I'd be all for it. And me, I think talking is the best way. Talking and being close to somebody who's gone through traumatic life experiences, and just talking and being around them is the best solution, best medication. What?
Okay. Just to touch a little bit back on that still, do you think that it's just like post or like pre-fatal, as you said, traumas that would make someone develop this? Or do you think like the lesser traumas, such as rape, for example, and other minor, but not like, it's not like, oh, it's nothing, but like it's not as severe as like fatal ones. Do you think that they could still develop PTSD with that, or?
They can. Somebody who has gone through, let's say, sexual abuse, or abuse in like if you're a married couple, or if you had a boyfriend or a girlfriend who has been treating somebody, let's say, violently, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, somebody can definitely develop that, because in certain ways, let's say, life goes on and there's always that fear of, okay, if I have a new boyfriend or if I have a new girlfriend, are they going to treat me the same way as Mr. or Mrs. Right just did? That's where that PTSD can affect the way you live your life. But to me, is if it's not that you can't not think of it, it's something that'll never go away. Just like and I'll reiterate what I just said about the like fatality or anything like that. But to me, I think if you can go past that and look, because it's not the same face you're waking up to in the morning. It's not the same face that who's going to wake up one morning and just start beating the crap out of you, or let's say raping you or anything like that. It's a fresh face of somebody who really cares for you. It takes time, and I know a lot of people do overcome it. I know, and I've been through relationships like that, not to the severe point of sexual abuse or anything, but just to the point of arguments, and that's all it was. There's no love, it's just, you're a punching bag. And you can definitely overcome it, and it's just by kind of, how would I say this, there's no way of erasing the past. When it comes to something that traumatic, you can't erase it. And there's no way. It's like a memory stick that can't be erased. But you can't live your life on that focus. Because if that person who you're marrying, or who you're newly found love, or anybody like that, and you know they won't hurt you, you can't think that, well, you know what, my last boyfriend, fiance, husband beat the crap out of me, or rape me, or anything like that. Well, I think the next guy I'm going to see is probably going to do the same. Or a girl I'm going to see is going to do the same thing. I know it's not just men who do it, women do it too. That's where life really becomes a challenge. It becomes a juggling act. We're human. We live with risks. But the first signs of, let's say, any person is if they're violent. I just stop right there. If you know there's a first thing of somebody threatening you, or just any subtle characteristics of grouchiness, or just like pent up rage, I believe relationships can be managed by just talking, not by abuse. And and somebody can develop PTSD if they don't see it. I understand there's a lot of give and take in a relationship, or in any minor instances. Mostly when it comes, and relationships are the hardest. We've all been there. We've all had our experiences, good, bad, evil. In a way, you can't let what's happening now, or you can't let what happened then interfere with what's happening now, because it's not the same person, it's not the same atmosphere, it's not the same lifestyle. So you can see there's changes that happen because you're more aware of the signs. And if you can it's not change yourself, it's being aware of that. You can release the tension, you can release the stress. You can love the person for who they are, and not be afraid that one night you're going to wake up and they're going to wake up and beat you, or going to have a weapon at your head. They're not going to. And to me, I've seen it. I haven't experienced it, but I've seen it to the point of close to murder. And it's sad. And that's where your life changes right there. Having a gun or a knife or anything pointed at your head changes the way you think of anybody in the world. Unfortunately, not for the better. Sometimes for the better. In the long run, you left that person. That person's not coming back anytime soon. And if they do, you know you have security. Right. So in that aspect, I think PTSD can be resolved, can be helped, can be cured, just by talking, by kind of flushing away what happened. Like the small things. I know the big things will be there, but just by flushing away the small characteristics and concentrate on the now. I believe anybody can overcome it. PTSD is something that's traumatic. It always will be, and always. It's a societal term that we won't let down. But just by getting help by talking, that's the best way of solving anything, by healing, just by living life. Because you can't live life in the shadows. You can't live life in a house that's just. You lose interest in things. You get bored easily. I would get bored easily, but you get bored easily. You hamper the lives of other people around you. Unfortunately, I know. I was a victim of that, like of cousins of people who I knew who went through that. And unfortunately, people begin to realize, well, you know what? If he or she's not helping themselves, why should I help them? And then they just drift away, and you lose friends, you lose family members. Fortunately, and the best way of doing that is not by keeping yourself secluded, but just by, you know what, I have to do something, and I have to do something now before it's too late. So, and if you have a solid relationship with a man or a woman, live life with her or him, and that's the best way you could. Your life will be better in the long run. If you have children, their lives will be better because they won't be affected as much. And that's why I believe is the best medicine for any stress disorders or any anxiety disorders.
Okay. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can also visit me on my Facebook page and Instagram.